So I have waited 2 years to see you live. The buzz around town, I'm in LA, and it's unheard of to hear people outside of your friend group talk about something. And I heard about this so often that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see this as soon as it comes back, and then everything got killed.
Uh-huh.
And now, but you're coming back and you have your tour and you're ready to go. And you've already done some live shows as far as I know.
Yeah, I've done a couple. I've done 2 in New York now, and I went back to Baltimore. Yeah, so I've been able to do a couple post all of this, which has been awesome. Yeah.
I think you're setting this up sort of by yourself. I don't know if you have an assistant or a team that helps you, but I want to know, how has it been to kind of navigate this at this time, especially like just yesterday, I'm getting an alert on my phone going, things are bad. Go back to what you were doing like 3 weeks ago. So this has got to be hard, right?
It's been really hard, back and forth. It was like, yeah, my tour was supposed to start right when COVID hit, like March 2020 was like, yeah, you're gonna go on the road. And I was like, nope, you're not. So, it's been back and forth this whole time. And I'm like, I'm hoping I get to do it. I'm hoping people get vaccinated and keep wearing masks and do all the things that like I'm doing and my friends are doing. And, you like to think people are doing, and you just don't know. But it's been a weird time of just like, I think that we've been through so many waves of this, of just like waiting, especially, for live performers, where it's just like, we want to do our job and have everybody be safe. So yeah, it's been weird going back and forth for sure.
Well, I'm not sure what's happening here in Los Angeles. Like 2 weeks ago, I was out on the street at midnight when they made everybody put their mask on, and I was surprised that it was like on a bullhorn. They're like, it's time to put your masks on. I was like, what is this? I feel like I'm at a dystopian society.
Yes, that's so nuts. I know. And that was the thing too. It was like, people kept asking me like, when are you rebooking LA? When are you rebooking LA? And I was like, well, from what I can tell, LA is having its own moment. So it was kind of like, I think that was definitely like an interesting one to try to redo, because, from that standpoint, it's like, even though we're the United States, every state is handling it so much differently. Everybody's states, so that's been something that's been interesting. And like, oh, like this city has been fine for 6 months. This city is still not fine. Like that's something that you would never deal with normally on tour. Yeah.
I'm kind of glad LA got pushed back for you, because you're on my birthday weekend. So I'm like, oh,
good.
On my birthday.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's like far enough, September's far enough away that it's like things will be okay then.
Well, it seems like people don't care. Like now, I mean, not about that. They don't care what's going on now. They're like, no, we're gonna stay out. We're gonna go to the shows.
And it's like, I think it's just been a long, almost 2 years now. It's like, it's really hard. I think like we've all just been like, I'm trying to do, like so many people are just trying to do the right thing. And, but yeah, it's like you miss life. It's tough.
Well, I'm wondering, in the 2 years, I don't know if it was exactly 2 years since you started doing live shows again, but was there anything new or different that you decided to do throughout that time period that you're incorporating into the shows now, that people that saw you before are going to go, oh, this is a little bit different, this is a little bit new?
Like every single Tinder live show is totally improvised. So every show is new. Every show is different, which is awesome. So it's not like, when I do stand up and it's like I'm doing the same set, for a while or whatever. Like I don't have that with Tinder Live. So every single one is new. But I will say that there is a heightened energy to the show. Like the show always had a lot of energy because it's super interactive, and it kind of has like a Coliseum level like energy to it, where it's like I match with someone and everyone's like, yeah, like it's like people get so into it. Like, the further it gets along, people realize they can shout stuff. People realize they can like, they're such a big part of it, and it has this incredible energy. But I've noticed that the post-pandemic shows, people are even louder and even more excited. And I'd asked a friend of mine who's like come to a lot of Tinder live shows, and I was like, is it just louder and more energetic because I haven't been in a room with hundreds of people shouting in a long time? Or is it like a different energy? And he was like, I think people are just so excited to be out and so excited to see live comedy and so excited to see something that's interactive and so excited to be in this room in this way that like there's an even bigger energy. And I've noticed with myself as a performer as well, where like, I spent so much of the this time, I did virtual shows and things like that. So I think I've just gotten so much more comfortable. And I've also spent so much time, talking to people about their dating app experiences throughout this online and social media and stuff. And so I've noticed new things. I do have like different jokes. I've just noticed just even more. Yeah, I'm just so excited to be out there and like being able to give people jokes in real time and things I've been thinking about during these last 2 years that I'm like, I want to talk about that. And then seeing that immediate reaction of people laughing because they've been feeling it too is really awesome. Yeah.
Well, when you were doing the Tinder live online, did
Mhm.
that kind of just keep your gears kind of greased to come back, or was it a totally different experience, or how did you use that to help yourself push yourself to going back to live stage?
It it was different, and it honestly it took me a while to get up the energy to do it, because I think like a lot of performers I was really grieving a lot because live performance means everything, truly everything to me. And so there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to do it online, like I don't know, and what's it going to be like? And then once I started doing it, I was like, it's not the same, but it's its own special thing. And to the point where like I keep thinking, now I'm getting ready for tour, but maybe I will keep doing some streaming stuff as well, because it ends up being its own special thing of like, I would do these streaming shows and you would see like, oh, I'm watching from Canada, I'm watching from Argentina, I'm watching from LA, I'm watching from Kansas. And you're like, that's freaking cool. Like that's real, that's a different, and also, because it was on Zoom, you can like see people's like houses and you could see them watching with their friends. And when I'm doing it on a stage live, you can kind of see people in the audience, but there's lights there. But just to be able to see like people's faces, it was like, so yeah, it was just its own special cool thing. And also um, because it's on Zoom, like I could have I could hear people's voices saying swipe right or swipe left. So it was actually, I wish I hadn't waited as long to do them online. I know why I did, but it was like, it just ended up being and reminding me that like the show is so fun no matter what. And getting to hear from people too who had come to a lot of the Tinder live shows in real life in person and being like, I had just as fun of a time. It totally translated to that, because that's what you always worry about. But yeah, it was awesome.
Well, I like to go to the bootleg here, and I think you did shows there. And then I was
That's
just
where it was supposed to that's where it was supposed to be.
yeah, I was gonna say it closed down, and I'm wondering, are you seeing a lot of that? A lot of like venues that you love to go to that are closed down now because they just didn't make it?
Yeah, and it definitely happened a lot with tour where it was like a lot of the places I was supposed to play in 2020 closed. And so then it was like, oh, well, okay. And it's sad on multiple levels. And there's just been a lot of grief that it's like we don't even necessarily have the space to process it, which is hard, but yeah.
Well, you're not sponsored by Tinder at all.
No.
No. Now, I want to know, because I had never used Tinder, and then I got on in the last couple of days to see what it was about and see how it works. And what I
Yeah.
realized really quickly is that you, unless I'm like a really hideous monster, you don't get a lot of hits back right away. So you kind of have to pay for their tiers to tier to tier. It's kind of a crazy setup, right? Am I wrong about this?
So that's the way it is for men. Men
Yeah.
don't get a lot of like that's what I've heard from a lot of men, where it's just like it can take forever to get a match, or it can take forever to get somebody who like actually talks. For women, the cliche really is that, and I mean it's a cliche for a reason because they found it to be true. But like most men swipe right on almost every woman, and most women swipe left on almost every man. So it's like there's a big divide there. So it's but on Tinder Live it's like I'm I'm usually getting responses from people pretty fast, partly because I'm playing a character who is pretty ridiculous. So yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't want to be sexist, but you brought it up, is that I don't think a man could do this show live the way you do it. because they just wouldn't be getting that reaction on the phone. Is that
Well, and it's also it would be a completely different show because you know, I know in anybody else's hands this show could be really mean and could really punch down. And one of the things I'm proudest of is that Tinder Live is known for being a really kind show when in anybody else's hands it probably would not be. It would probably just be like, look at this piece of shit idiot. And that's not what the show is at all. And you know, one of the reasons that I wouldn't want to watch a man riffing on women's profiles. A, it wouldn't be funny, and B, it would just be punching down, and it would be super hateful and horrible. But there is something really powerful and wonderful and also just really funny about if you swipe through, you know, a lot of men haven't seen how ridiculous the men's profiles are on dating apps, and they're so ridiculous. So it's not like I'm taking like a guy who seems incredible and just ripping him to shreds. Like that's not interesting to me. That's not who I am, and it's not funny. But it is taking a guy who I'm like, oh, this guy identifies as a vampire and he lives his life as a vampire. We have to talk to him. Like that's, you know, just finding the weirdest profiles we can find, or, you know, finding the guy whose profile says like, if you're a feminist, swipe left, and actively swiping right and being like, mansplain feminism to me, like, and just playing around with, you know, that stuff. That's a totally different energy. And, you know, so much of the world is men needlessly making fun of women all the time anyway. So it's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to watch a guy do this show at all.
Well, I brought that up because I think on maybe your Twitter or Instagram, I saw that somebody had brought up the idea of doing this as a television show, and it was a guy that wanted to do it. And I know you came back at them and was like, we've already done this and we're trying to make it a show. But when I saw that, I was like, I don't think a guy could do what you're doing. Not to be rude to, you know, guys or whoever.
No, but it's a different dynamic. It's just, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely true. I don't think it hasn't, it's a difference of the dynamics. I mean, you know, and also like there's just so much that we're dealing with that like men are not dealing with on dating apps in the same way. It's like there are challenges across the board, but like the level of just like the profiles you'll see, it's just, you know, it's one of the things I love about doing the show is like men will come up to me after the show and be like, I had no idea the profiles you see as a woman are so bad. And that's the thing, like the profiles that men are seeing is mostly just like women who are alive. Like there's really, it's not, you know, I've even done that to prove a point when I first started doing the show, and someone was like, show women's profiles. And I was like, okay, but I can tell you right now, they don't compare the wild things that you will see on men's profiles. It just, there's no comparison.
I have not seen anything crazy. And
that's what I'm saying.
I've been using it, so
yeah, I've swiped through, and it's like, I know, you know, some of the profiles aren't real, but like you're not gonna see. I mean, on any given, I've been doing the show a long time, and it's like, you know, I never run out of like, it's never like a night where it's like every profile was really great and kind and not full of anything that was truly horrifying and haunted us all for days. So, you know.
Well, I'm going to ask a controversial question. Don't get mad at me, but this came up in something I was looking at. Do you consider yourself a prop comic, and why do you think prop comics get such a bad rep?
I don't see that as that's totally different. Like I'm not holding a watermelon. I'm an improviser. I'm also a stand-up comedian, but in terms of this show, it's an improv show. And Frank Conniff from Mystery Science Theater put it really the best way that I could possibly think of it. And it meant so much to me because I'm such a huge Mystery Science Theater fan. But he was like, you know, I've seen a lot of people do things that were in the vein of what Mystery Science Theater was, and Tinder Live like does it better than anybody, because really what it is Mystery Science Theater if the movie could talk back, is how he described it. And I was like, that's really what it is. You know, if you think about Mystery Science Theater, those weren't props. And if you think about, you know, riff tracks, things like that, but it is something that they're reacting to, that they're riffing off of. And so yeah, I view it as that, where it's like I'm in a improv comedy show with a movie that can talk back. Yeah.
Now you were on one of my favorite, more recent shows, Search Party. How did you get involved with that show?
Yeah, I mean, just I got the pretty normal actory way. Yeah, I got the role, and it was awesome. That was just perfect for me. And I remember, auditioning for it and being like, oh, I would crush this. This would be so fun to do. I was such a fan of the show. And, getting to put on like a pregnancy suit and be like kind of like a goth pregnant nurse. I mean, amazing. And like, working with Connor O'Malley, and like, it was just, yeah, everything about it was wonderful. Yeah.
Well, yeah, those guys that created that show are geniuses.
Yeah.
That show is so great. And then I saw you on there and I was like, oh, these guys know what they're doing,
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And it was one of those ones where, you see it and you're like, oh, I hope I get this. I would really be good at this and I would have so much fun. Yeah, it was awesome to be able to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I did want to get your opinion on two things because I watched these back to back kind of Loki. I don't know if anybody's talked to you about this because for some reason I've been following you on Instagram and watching your stuff for a little while now throughout the pandemic. So I know your background and what you do. When I saw Loki and then I saw Zoe Lister-Jones's How It Ends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen either of those?
I haven't seen either one of those.
Well, because the interesting thing to me is that Loki has a variant that's girl Loki, and they fall in love with each other.
Whoa, okay.
And then the Zoe Lister-Jones How It Ends movie has a woman who's trying to get to a party, and she's talking to her younger self, who's an embodiment of this girl. But both of them are really like self-love shows and just learning to love yourself. Kind of thing, and being alone in a moment, and some people have hit Loki about like that's pretty weird that he's like in love with, but I was like, I don't know, if you're like perfect match showed up and it was, you might fall in love with it. I was like, I kind of get where they're going with that. I just wanted your opinion on those shows, but you haven't seen either one of them. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen either one of them, which like that sounds interesting, and I had read about both of them. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll have to see how they do that take on it, because I don't know how I would react to that, like literally just meeting yourself. That's a whole other thing, but I guess it's a variant of yourself.
Well, it's a variant. So it's like he's the guy and she's the girl and they're both bisexual, but then they meet each other and they're like, well, I love you and you love me, and they go through a whole thing. And it's kind of weird for a Marvel movie to go that deep into those kind of ideas and stuff. And I thought it was really interesting because I've heard other people talk about how it's kind of weird that he falls in love with her, but I was like, in my brain, I was like, I don't know. If like your perfect match showed up, why wouldn't you fall in love with her?
Well, and I think that a lot of people, that's kind of what they want, where it's like they want themselves but different, because you want and not in a narcissistic way, but it's like
they do the narcissistic angle. They talk about that in the show and kind of how to subvert that and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like that you don't want. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll have to check them out and get back to you.
Okay. Well, that's all right. Do you need to go?
No, you're okay. I have like a million phone alarms that go off during the day. You're fine.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite Richard Gere movie of all time and why?
I don't know that I have one. I mean, and that's Richard Gere's cool. I don't know if I have a favorite Richard Gere movie. I don't know. I'm trying to think of Richard Gere movies I've seen. Runaway Bride, he's like kind of a jerk.
When he's not being a jerk, this is not too often.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite. Since I can't think of one, the answer is none.
None.
Like, I mean, I guess, like Richard's cool. He's not someone I think about having favorite movies of, I guess. And it's also like movies I haven't seen in a long time.
That's why I'm asking that question. So
yeah, I'm like, I haven't
seen. We're talking about Richard Gere, and I want to talk about Richard Gere, and no one wants to talk about it with me. So
I guess I'm part of that same club. That's just like, I would have to really go back and rewatch some Richard Gere movies. I remember liking a lot of them. You know, it's like there's some actors you could be like, which one is your favorite of theirs? And I'd be like, oh my God, let me narrow it down. There's other people who it's like, I've watched these, I liked them, but I don't know that there's one that's like, oh, this one's like incredible.
I'm
Yeah.
really surprised at how many of his movies are about sex workers.
Are they?
Almost all of them. There's
Really?
like very few, and like that's what surprised me going back to look at his catalog in the last year and a half. Is like I didn't realize there was
Other
so
than Pretty
many.
Woman, is that it? That's not it?
There's I'm trying. No, there's like 6 of them now that I counted yesterday when I was talking about this with somebody else. There's like a
Interesting.
movie where he's with Michael Caine that came out in like early '80s,
Hmm.
where he falls in love with a prostitute, and she's with Michael Caine, and then she gets pregnant with Richard Gere, and it has a really like just intense, horrible ending. But all of his movies early on have these crazy, like just horrible endings. You ever seen Looking for Mr. Goodbar or
No.
Searching for Mr.
Uh-uh.
That's about a lady. It's kind of like Tinder. She's looking for like the perfect man and going on a lot of dates. Richard Gere is a prostitute in that movie, and the movie takes like a turn in the last 15 minutes that are unexplainable, and you're just sitting there going, "Was it?" Like turns into a full-on horror movie. It's horrifying.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, nope. I guess I have a lot of Richard Gere to catch up on.
Well, I'm just surprised at how dark all the endings of his movies are up until I think Pretty Woman. It's like he made Pretty Woman just so he could have one movie where there's a happy ending, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
So I sorry, I didn't mean to diverge and go off on Richard Gere. I've just been asking
Fine.
people the Richard Gere question.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't mean anything by it. So you can't talk about your new book too much until it comes out. But I want to know, from what I see online, the reaction to your book, How to Be Alone, has been like pretty amazing. And it's a great book. I haven't read the whole book because I got it when I was in the quarantine thing here in the house by myself for a year and a half, and I would read it and it would make me too sad and I would go somewhere else, because I was just like, I'm not ready to deal with this yet. I've spent a lot of time alone, but I mean
Yeah.
the last year and a half just to spend it all alone is crazy.
Yeah.
And that book, I am understanding, is helping a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's not a sad book, I promise. It's like, it is a very funny book. It's not,
Well, when
super
I
sad,
say that,
but
for me, it was just like, I don't want to read about being alone
it's
while I'm
gonna
sitting here alone outside being alone. I need to go find something to take my mind off.
oh well that's what I was gonna say is that it's like, but it will bring up some stuff, and I have heard from people who were like, I had to take breaks, not because it wasn't great, but because it was like making me think about some stuff I wasn't ready to think about. And
Right.
like that, I totally understand. And I've had that experience as a reader too, where I was like, oh no, this is good, but I'm going to need to take this in chunks because you're not always at a place where you can face that or you really want to fully think about it, which I totally understand, and, that's why like I was really mindful as I get into the book. I did create little like breaks for the reader where I would just be like, all right, we're talking about some really heavy stuff. Now it's time for jokes. Let's do a couple jokes about this. We gotta like light it up because I think I was just very mindful of like, we're talking about something that's really heavy. And it was very important to me to, as much as I could, make the reader feel safe and held. And I didn't want to go into anything that was gonna be like too overwhelming, but also really wanted to talk about things that we don't ever really talk about, and so yeah, that's going to bring up some stuff if we never are allowed to talk about these things. And from what I've heard from so many people, that is one of the great things about the book, is that I know for myself, I've read a lot of books where I was just like, I don't really relate to this, or like, why aren't they talking about this, or they're not really addressing this. And a lot of people saying like, I thought I was the only one who went through that. I thought I was the only one who felt like that. I thought I was the only one who experienced that. So by talking about it, people realize like, oh, there's at least one other person out there who feels like that. And I feel the same way about people who read it, because I had never heard anybody talk about a lot of the things I talk about in the book too.
Well, that's actually how I found your book. And what's weird is that I had heard about Tinder Live a bunch and I was wanting to see it. And then one day I was looking up books about being alone and dealing
Yeah.
with loneliness.
Yeah.
And then I saw your book and got it. And then not until I opened the book and was reading the inside of it that I realized, hey, this is
Oh,
the
that's funny.
same person that does
That's
Tinder.
really funny. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this girl's got something going on. I got to check it out. And I was going to say, I've been paying attention to your Twitter and your Instagram ever since then. And you really are like a bright, shining light for people in this dark time. I know we're coming out of it, but it's always been great to see like the Instagram stories or, it just, it's like having, a friend there to hear and listen to it.
Yeah, which I love. And I mean, I feel the same way, vice versa, where it's like I'm a pretty introverted person. I'm not, I love performing, but like outside of that, I'm very much like in my little bubble. But like, I do love people, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the internet is being able to find like-minded people. And I really like sharing my stuff with everybody, and having people say how much it means to them, and they feel like they have someone, because I feel the same way. So it's a really nice exchange, I think. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you a question that you brought up a minute ago about a character on stage. How much of what we see on stage is a character, and how much is actual Lane?
It's once you see Tinder Live, it is very clear what the character is. It's very clear because it's not. I'm not. I'm not playing a character on stage in like a classic way where it's like once I'm on stage, I'm someone else. It's not. It's not like that. It's more like the way I talk to people when I'm on the app. I'm playing somebody who's like kind of drunk and like not all together, and like something's wrong with her, and like she's not the brightest, but it's like something that I've noticed that like certain types of guys on dating apps are like, yeah, I love her, she's a horny idiot. So it's very clear. But the rest of it, is very much just me. But yeah, when I'm uh I turn on that character because it's part of the fun of interacting with these really weird profiles. Yeah.
Now, is it opening up again where you can go back and do some acting or get more involved in other stage productions?
Yeah, I think things are opening back up again, and like shows are shooting and stuff. So I'm really excited to it's been nice to be able to go back and start doing some of that stuff again for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, as we wrap it up, can you tell me? I know everybody can look in this, but kind of what is happening with Tinder Live and where we're going to see you first,
Yeah.
and how this is going to roll out, and what people can expect, and basically where they can check you out also on Instagram and
Yeah, absolutely.
Facebook.
Tinder Live starts, the tour will start in, it's like Boulder, Denver area, and then I'm going to like Kansas City and Oklahoma City and Little Rock and New Orleans and all these cities. I am touring through October. All of the dates can be found on my website, lanemore.org. You can also find them. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Hello Lane Moore. And yeah, come see the show. I'm so excited. And this will be my first time in a lot of these cities. So it's really exciting. And it's also really cool because when I go on tour, I'm swiping through these cities specifically. So you'll get to see your city reflected in a really awesome way where it becomes this like, oh, everyone takes photos in front of this mural. Oh, everyone works at this job. Oh, everyone has this one thing in common, or this thing that they'll say, and the audience will be like, oh, swipe left. Anyone who says that in this town sucks. Like it's really becomes this like really interesting exploration of all of these towns. That's really, really cool. So yeah, definitely come to the show, and yeah, I'd love to see you there.
When you're doing the show, do you actually get people that you're talking to on the screen to come down to the club?
No, there's not usually time for that, but sometimes there'll be someone in the audience who's like, oh my god, that's my brother, and I'm like, okay, do you think he would think it was fun if we like said some ridiculous stuff to him? And he's like, yeah. And then later, I'll get like a DM from the brother, and he'll be like, my brother told me that like that was all that's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, because it's just such a silly, ridiculous thing. And that's the cool thing about traveling with it too, where like you know, just you'll know people who come up on screen and you're like, I work with him. Oh my God. And like, again, I always keep it super, super kind where it's like, I'm not trying to blow up anybody's spot. It was like one time someone was like, oh my God, he's a bartender. He makes this really great drink. And I was like, what's the name of the drink? And I like worked it into a joke, but just to be able to have those moments of like, someone's like, oh, this girl just brought up this drink that I made. That's like really amazing. Like, does she know me or are we like, what is that? Like, it's just so silly and good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to come see you live. It's going to be exciting. If you need anybody at your merch booth to run it, I see you're always saying that on Twitter. I was like, oh, I'll do that. That'll be fun.
It's
So,
nice to it's nice to have people to know there when I'm there. But yeah, thanks.
okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. And we'll get this out soon. Your first date is August 6th.
August 9th, I think. I'd have to look at the website to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's it. August 9th in Boulder. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I will see you later and good luck with everything on tour.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.